Hi guys, welcome to another Divi theme video. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Oh, we got a really easy eye-catching one for you today. If I roll down this page, we've got another little section coming in from the bottom there. When I get about halfway up the page, we've got a call to action module going to fade in. When we get further up the page, it's going to disappear back out, leaving us with that parallax image or fixed background image there. When we go back down, it's going to do the same thing in reverse. That's going to get people's attention pretty quickly if they're rolling down your site. Really great feature to have. Really easy to do, and there's no coding involved in this at all today. We're just using the inbuilt features of the Divi theme itself. So let's get started. I'm going to enable the Visual Builder. Now, once enabled, let's roll down on where we want to work. I'm going to simply delete this section that we've got here. Little blue tab for a section. And we'll start from scratch. I'm going to put it between these two existing sections here. So just click anywhere on an existing section. A little blue button's going to pop up to add a new section. I'm going to make mine a regular section today. You can put what you want in here. I'm actually going to just use one row with a single column in it. Inside mine, I'm going to add a call to action. Now you can add anything you want here or combinations to this row. It'll work the same way. But for expediency, I'll just add a call to action there. Obviously, put what you want your title to say there. Put what you want your button to say there. And put whatever content you want right there. Now you may have noticed there's no button, or you may not have noticed because there's no button. Before the button's going to turn up, you need to click on the link down below there. Just put a little link in for your button. As soon as you do that, the button's going to show up. And of course, you can style this and customize it over in design. Button, just switch that on. I'm going to leave mine exactly like it is. And for the background, I'm going to change my blue to a black. I'm going to click on the actual field itself, left click there. Variegated slider is opacity, the amount you can sort of see through it. I'm going to drag mine down a bit so when we put an image in the background, we've got a bit of that image bleeding through there, but we should still be able to read that text nice and clearly. Fantastic. Well, I'm going to leave that just as it is. Let's go back into our section now and choose the image we want to put behind there. Always find background under content. That goes for sections, rows and modules. Let's put a background image in. We've got color, gradient, image, background video, background pattern or background mask. I'm just going to go for an image today. And I'll pop in that same one as we used before. Great, so we've got a little section there. We've got a nice little image in the background. We've got our call to action there. You can read that text nicely. Of course, you can roll over and click the button if you need to. But I'd like to make this section a lot bigger. And I want to use what they call the parallax effect. Now, if we look here, little button just under the image, use parallax effect. Make sure you're on the image tab, obviously. Once you switch it on, it's going to switch it to true parallax. Now, true parallax is a great little feature. It moves that background image at a slightly different rate from the front of the site that's rolling up and down it there. Now, it may look slightly glitchy because of my screen recording software, but that's a very smooth effect right there. So you can use that if you want to. I'm actually going to switch it to what they call CSS parallax, which is also known as fixed position. Now, when I roll up and down, that background image is going to stay exactly where it is. Now, you want to bear in mind, if you're using this, you want a reasonable size image. And of course, optimize your images wherever possible. Keep them a small size. Great, so that part's working. I want to make this section a bit bigger so we've got a bit of scroll room to make this module fade in and fade out. So while we're in the section, let's do that. I'm going to go over to design and sizing. I'm going to make this a minimum height of, say, 70 viewable height, which will be 70% of whatever screen they're viewing it on. I'm using minimum height so that if this call to action or whatever you've built is taller than the screen size on smaller devices, it can get larger. So let's go in there. I'm going to put 70 VH for viewable height. As you can see, now that's made that section 70% of our screen size here. Fantastic. Now all I need to do is scoot our row down a little bit so it's more central. So let's save our section changes here. Now I'm going to go into the row itself, the green tab for the row, dark tab for the module. I'm going to go into the row itself. I want to scoot it down so it's more central here. To do that, I'm going to go over to design, spacing, and let's try giving it 20 viewable height padding on the top. That's 20 VH. Not bad, a little too far. Let's take it down a bit with the little arrows here till it's where we want it. I think right there will do. Great. Well, Divi itself comes with some inbuilt scroll effects, so we don't have to do any coding. So I can make this fade in, grow, twist, do whatever I want. So let's do that. I'm going to go over to the advanced, down to scroll effects. And you've got several to choose from. You've got vertical motion, horizontal motion, fading in and out. We'll use a bit of that today. Scaling up and down, we'll use a bit of that today too. Rotating and blurring out. So I want to make mine scale first. So I'm going to hit the scale up and down. Scaling means growing or shrinking. To make this happen, we need to switch the little switch that says enable scaling up and down to yes. And it gives us a little sort of timeline here. Now viewport bottom obviously is the bottom of your screen here. Viewport top is the top of the screen right there. And you can make different things happen depending on what position on the screen this is coming in or out. Well, I want it to start off invisible basically, so 0 scale. So if I roll down now, you'll see that shrinking down to almost nothing there. Then at the top of the screen, I want it to do the same thing. So I'm going to put a 0 right there. As you can see, it's faded right down there as well. Or I should say scaled right down there. Now, from about 50% to about, let's say 80%, I want it to be fully visible. Or full size, I should say. So from 50%, here's about 50%, here's about 80%. So if I roll down now, it's going to shrink down. If I roll out when it gets to 50%, it's going to be the regular size. When I get up to 80%, it's going to start shrinking back out. Now that actually works fine on its own, but just to make it look a little nicer, I want a little fade effect in there as well. So it actually disappears when we go down to the bottom there, and then fades out, or scales out, and disappears when we get to the top there. And I'm sure you've guessed how to do this. If we roll over now, I'm going to use the fade. And again, we just need to go down, hit the little switch, enable fading in and out. Okay, well I want it to be invisible at the bottom, which it should be now. I want it to be invisible at the top also, so I'm going to put a 0 in the top. Then I want it fully faded in, again from my 50% up to my 80%. So I'm grabbing that right hand arrow, dragging it out until it's about 80%. At 80% down to 50%, it's going to be 100% faded in, so totally visible. But I really want it to disappear fairly quickly, so I'm going to grab my bottom viewport and I'm going to drag it closer to my 50, probably about 40%. And this one I'm going to take down to about 90%, something like that. So once it hits that mark, it would have faded out anywhere past that mark and anywhere before that mark. Let's just save what we got here now. If I roll down, that should fade out and disappear. Fantastic. There it is. Kind of fading in and out a little too quickly. Don't mind the top one fading out pretty quickly like that. But the bottom one, I think I'll adjust that. It's just fading out slightly too quickly for me there. So you know how to adjust that. We'll go back into our row, back to advanced and scroll effects. Here's our fade. I'm going to take that bottom viewport here, the vertical bar right there. I'm going to take that down to maybe 20%, something like that. That way it's got more of a fade when it comes in there, and it's going to fade out nice and quickly at the top there. If you wanted to, we could take this back up to 100. It would just slow that fade down a bit. Whatever works for you. And that should pretty much do it. Let's save our changes now. Make sure this is all going to work on the front end. We'll hit the little purple button. Save draft or publish if you're ready. And exit the Visual Builder. And if we roll down the site, here's that section coming in. When it gets about 50%, our little module is going to fade in there and grow. It's going to stay there up to 80%, and it's going to disappear back out. Like I say, if people are mousing around your site, this sort of thing happens. It's going to get their attention pretty quickly. Of course, once it's in the middle there, they can roll over it, read the writing, click on the button if they need to. Roll on up, it's going to disappear. So there you go, guys. There's a simple parallax section using scroll effects to fade in a little module there. And like I say, with your row, because we've done this effect on the row, you can add pretty much any modules you want to that row and make it how you want it. So there we are, guys. There's how to create a parallax section with a scroll effect on it. If you've enjoyed this today, have a look at our scroll effects video. It should pop up on the left-hand side of this video in a moment. We've got plenty of other neat little tricks that you can do with those effects. So I hope you've enjoyed this today and found it useful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, ring the bell, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Once again, this has been Jamie with System22 and WebDesignAndTechTips.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.